Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep literally into one of the most important, yet often overlooked processes on our planet, the marine carbon cycle. You've probably heard a lot about carbon in the atmosphere. But did you know the ocean holds about 50 times more carbon than the atmosphere? It's a massive, critical player in regulating our global climate, and understanding how it works is key to understanding our world. So grab your virtual snorkel, and let's explore the incredible journey of carbon through the deep blue sea. First things first, what exactly is the marine carbon cycle? Simply put, it's the continuous movement of carbon atoms between the ocean, the atmosphere, marine life, and the seafloor. This cycle isn't just one single process. It's a complex web of interactions involving biology, chemistry, and physics. To make it easier to understand, scientists often break it down into two main parts: the biological carbon pump and the physical carbon pump. Let's start with the physical one, also known as the solubility pump. The physical pump is all about basic chemistry and physics. Carbon dioxide from the atmosphere dissolves into the surface of the ocean. This process is driven by the difference in CO2 concentration between the air and the water. Think of it like a can of soda. When you open it, the dissolved CO2 escapes into the air because the pressure is lower. The ocean works similarly, but often in reverse, absorbing CO2. This exchange is most effective in cold, dense waters, like those found near the poles. Cold water can hold more dissolved gas than warm water. As these cold, carbon-rich surface waters get saltier and denser, they sink, carrying that dissolved carbon deep into the ocean's interior. This process is part of the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, a massive global circulation system that transports water and carbon around the planet. Once this carbon is in the deep ocean, it can be stored away from the atmosphere for hundreds, or even thousands of years. It's like a long-term carbon storage unit, slowly but surely locking it away. Let's talk about the biological carbon pump, which is where things get really lively. This pump is driven by life itself, specifically tiny marine organisms called phytoplankton. These microscopic plants are the foundation of the ocean's food web. Just like plants on land, phytoplankton use photosynthesis to convert sunlight and carbon dioxide into organic matter for energy. They are essentially the grass of the sea. As they grow and multiply in the sunlit surface waters, they pull vast amounts of carbon out of the water, effectively lowering the CO2 concentration at the surface. This in turn allows the ocean to absorb even more CO2 from the atmosphere to maintain equilibrium. So what happens to all this carbon locked up in phytoplankton? Well, the food chain kicks in. Phytoplankton are eaten by tiny animals called zooplankton. Zooplankton are then eaten by small fish, which are eaten by bigger fish, and so on, all the way up to large marine animals like whales and sharks. At each step, carbon is transferred up the food web. When these organisms die, or when they produce waste, they sink. This rain of organic material is often called marine snow. It's a constant slow-motion blizzard of dead plankton, fecal pellets, and other organic debris falling from the surface waters into the deep ocean. As this marine snow sinks, a portion of it gets eaten by bacteria and other deep-sea creatures, releasing the carbon back into the water column at depth. However, a significant fraction of this material makes it all the way down to the seafloor. Once on the seafloor, this carbon-rich sediment can get buried. Over millions of years, geological processes can turn this material into sedimentary rock, like limestone. This is the ultimate long-term storage for carbon, locking it away for geological timescales. Think about the famous White Cliffs of Dover in England. Those are made of the fossilized remains of tiny marine organisms called coccolithophores, which build protective plates out of calcium carbonate. Each of those tiny plates represents a bit of carbon that was pulled from the ancient ocean and atmosphere millions of years ago. This process, known as the carbonate pump, is another crucial part of the biological pump. So, we have the physical pump sinking cold, carbon-rich water, and the biological pump sending a shower of organic carbon down into the depths. Together, they create a powerful system that transports carbon from the surface to the deep ocean, where it can be sequestered for long periods. But the cycle doesn't end there. The ocean is not a static storage tank. That deep, carbon-rich water eventually makes its way back to the surface through a process called upwelling. This can take centuries, but when it happens, it brings that stored carbon and essential nutrients back to the sunlit zone. These nutrients fertilize the phytoplankton, fueling another round of photosynthesis and kicking off the biological pump all over again. It's a beautiful, self-sustaining loop. Now you might be wondering, how does this all connect to us and to climate change? Well, human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, have been releasing enormous amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The ocean has been our silent hero in this story, absorbing about a quarter of all the CO2 we've emitted since the Industrial Revolution. This has significantly slowed the rate of global warming. Without the ocean's help, our planet would be much warmer than it is today. But this service comes at a cost. As the ocean absorbs more and more CO2, its fundamental chemistry is changing. When CO2 dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid. This process is lowering the ocean's pH, making it more acidic. This is a phenomenon known as ocean acidification. It's sometimes called the other CO2 problem. This increasing acidity is a serious threat to many marine organisms, especially those that build shells or skeletons out of calcium carbonate, like corals, oysters, clams, and those important little coccolithophores we mentioned earlier. As the water becomes more acidic, it becomes harder for them to build and maintain their shells. In some cases, their shells can even start to dissolve. This has a ripple effect throughout the entire marine ecosystem. Coral reefs, which are vibrant hotspots of biodiversity, are particularly vulnerable. Acidification, combined with warming waters, can lead to coral bleaching and the collapse of entire reef ecosystems. Since about a quarter of all marine species depend on coral reefs at some point in their life cycle, this is a massive problem. Furthermore, if the populations of shell-building plankton at the base of the food web decline, it could weaken the biological carbon pump's ability to transport carbon to the deep sea. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. A weaker carbon pump means more CO2 stays in the atmosphere, which leads to more warming and more ocean acidification, further weakening the pump. So, what does the future hold? Scientists around the world are working hard to understand how the marine carbon cycle will respond to ongoing climate change. They use a combination of ship-based measurements, autonomous robots, satellite observations, and complex computer models to predict future changes. The consensus is that while the ocean will continue to absorb CO2, its efficiency may decrease over time, and the ecological consequences of acidification will become more severe. The health of the marine carbon cycle is directly linked to the health of our planet. It's a vast, intricate system that has regulated our climate for millennia, but it's under strain. The good news is that the main driver of this problem, human carbon dioxide emissions, is something we have the power to change. By transitioning to cleaner energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and protecting and restoring natural ecosystems both on land and in the sea, we can reduce the amount of CO2 entering the atmosphere and give the ocean a chance to recover. Protecting our oceans isn't just about saving whales or coral reefs. It's about maintaining the fundamental life support systems of our planet, and that's our deep dive into the marine carbon cycle. It's a complex, but fascinating and incredibly important topic. From microscopic phytoplankton to the global ocean conveyor belt, every part plays a role in keeping our planet in balance. I hope this explanation gave you a new appreciation for the power and fragility of our oceans. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video interesting, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the wonders of our world. Let me know in the comments what you found most surprising about the ocean's role in the carbon cycle. See you in the next video.